Nevada is the driest state in America. It has 0 rivers that reach the ocean. The federal government owns 81% of the land. By every rule of American settlement, almost no one should live here. But somehow, Nevada built the entertainment capital of the world, a neon empire rising from a landscape that offered nothing but sand and silence. Here is what most people miss. Nevada did not succeed despite having nothing. It succeeded because every other state had something, and Nevada was willing to allow what they were not. To understand how Nevada learned to turn nothing into everything, you have to start with the most expensive telegram ever sent. If you want to understand how geography shapes American life in ways you have never considered, subscribe. This channel explores exactly that. The state that shouldn't exist. In 1864, Nevada wasn't supposed to become a state. It didn't have the population. The requirements were clear, and Nevada fell embarrassingly short. But Abraham Lincoln had a problem that mattered more than paperwork. The 13th Amendment was coming to a vote. Lincoln needed every electoral vote he could get, both to secure re-election and to abolish slavery forever. Nevada, with its 3 electoral votes, suddenly looked like a solution. Congress waived the population requirements. The territory rushed to draft a constitution. But there was a catch. The document had to reach Washington before the deadline, and there wasn't time to send it by mail. So they telegraphed it. The entire Nevada Constitution, 16,543 words, transmitted letter by letter across the wires. It took 2 full days. The cost was $4,303, which translates to over $86,000 in today's money. It remains the longest telegram in American history. Nevada became a state not because it earned the designation, but because Lincoln needed it at exactly the right moment. In that origin story, the state learned its first lesson. Being unconventional could be an advantage. The rules could bend if the timing was right. 67 years later, Nevada would face another moment of desperation. It knew exactly what lever to pull. The bet no one else would make. On March 19, 1931, a freshman assemblyman named Phil Tobin introduced Assembly Bill 98 to the Nevada legislature. Governor Fred Balzar signed it into law. With that signature, Nevada became the first state since 1910 to legalize wide-open gambling. But here is what makes this moment truly strange. Nevada had already legalized gambling once before. Back in 1869, casinos operated openly across the territory. Then, in 1910, Nevada joined the national wave of progressive-era reform and criminalized gambling along with everyone else. The 1931 decision was not tradition. It was a reversal, a deliberate step backward, while the rest of the country continued marching forward. Nevada looked at what America wanted but prohibited and asked a simple question: what if we allowed it? The timing was not accidental. The Great Depression had gutted Nevada's economy. Mining revenues had collapsed. The state needed money from somewhere or anywhere. Gambling taxes looked like a lifeline, but gambling alone would not have been enough. What Nevada did next made the strategy complete, building an economy on prohibition. The same year Nevada legalized gambling, it slashed its divorce residency requirement to just 6 weeks. In most states, getting a divorce required years of residency and proof of extreme circumstances. Women trapped in unhappy or abusive marriages had almost no way out. Nevada offered freedom. Divorce ranches became cultural institutions, places where wealthy women from New York and California would spend their 6 weeks riding horses, socializing, and waiting for their legal liberation. Reno became synonymous with new beginnings, a place where the rigid moral codes of the rest of America simply did not apply. Then came no state income tax. Nevada made itself a haven for anyone looking to keep more of their money, retirees, entrepreneurs, anyone tired of watching their earnings disappear to state governments. Then, decades later, in 1971, Nevada legalized prostitution in rural counties. Another thing America clearly wanted but officially disapproved of, another market Nevada was willing to serve. This was not random permissiveness, it was a pattern. Nevada was systematically building an economy on the moral prohibitions of 49 other states. Every vice that could not find a home elsewhere found a home here. Every desire that respectable society refused to acknowledge openly, Nevada acknowledged with a business license and a tax stamp. And for the next 40 years, something unprecedented happened. 40 years alone. From 1931 to 1976, Nevada was the only state in America where commercial gambling was legal. 40 years of absolute monopoly. Think about what that means. Anyone in the entire country who wanted to gamble legally had exactly one option: Nevada. The first casinos were modest operations, 8 businesses crowded together on Fremont Street in downtown Las Vegas, simple buildings with sawdust floors and bare-bones tables. But a head start compounds. Every year of monopoly-built infrastructure, roads, hotels, airports, all designed to funnel visitors toward the gaming tables. Every year built brand identity. What happens in Vegas did not become a slogan by accident. It emerged from decades of being the only place where certain things could happen at all. Every year built expertise. Dealers, pit bosses, casino managers, entertainment directors, an entire professional class that existed nowhere else. When New Jersey finally legalized gambling in Atlantic City in 1976, Nevada had been perfecting the business for 4 decades. The new competitor had to start from zero. No experienced staff, no established infrastructure, no cultural cachet. Nevada did not just have a head start, it had become something no competitor could replicate overnight. A mature ecosystem designed from the ground up for a single purpose. But building a state around a single industry has consequences that only become visible when the world changes. And the land Nevada could not use tells an even stranger story. The geography of constraint. Here's a number that sounds impossible. 73% of Nevada's entire population lives in Clark County. Clark County occupies just 7% of Nevada's land. No comparable American state shows this level of concentration. It is as if nearly everyone in California lived in Los Angeles County, or nearly everyone in Texas clustered in a single corner around Houston. The disproportion is staggering. The reason is not preference. It is necessity. The federal government owns 81% of Nevada's land, more than any other state except Alaska. That land is not available for development. Private property rights essentially do not exist across vast regions. Military bases, nuclear testing sites, wilderness preserves, and Bureau of Land Management territory stretch across hundreds of thousands of acres where no one can build, farm, or settle. Settlement was forced into a handful of oases, the rare places where water existed and private ownership was possible. Las Vegas sits on one of those oases, a place where springs once bubbled up from the desert floor. Reno sits on another, in the Truckee Meadows at the base of the Sierra Nevada. Las Vegas was not chosen because it was ideal. It was chosen because it was the only option that worked. The geography left no alternatives. When you can only develop 19% of a state's land, and most of that land is barren desert without water, you end up with 73% of people living in 7% of the space. But those numbers only tell part of the story. The land Nevada could not use holds an even stranger history. The Graveyard of Dreams. Nevada has over 600 ghost towns scattered across its empty basins and ranges. There are more abandoned settlements than any state except possibly Texas, a state 7 times larger. These were not slow-building communities that gradually faded. They were explosions, mining camps that went from nothing to boomtown to nothing again within a single generation. Rhyolite is the perfect example. In 1904, prospectors struck gold in the hills of southern Nevada. Within 5 years, Rhyolite had 10,000 residents, a stock exchange, a hospital, an opera house, electric lights, and 3-story buildings made of concrete and stone. It looked like a real city, permanent and prosperous. By 1920, it was empty. The mines played out, the price of gold dropped. Everyone left. Virginia City tells the same story on a larger scale. During the Comstock silver boom of the 1870s, it reached 25,000 people, bigger than most eastern cities at the time. Mark Twain lived there, writing dispatches from the wild frontier. The wealth flowing from those mines helped finance the Union during the Civil War. Then the silver ran out, the population collapsed. Today, a few hundred people live there, mostly serving tourists who come to see what remains. The boom-bust cycle taught Nevada a brutal lesson about the fragility of single industry economies. This was the state's rhythm for decades: build fast, extract value, move on. The mining towns could not diversify because there was nothing else to build an economy around. No farmland, no navigable rivers, no timber worth harvesting. When the ore was gone, so was the reason to stay. That lesson would matter enormously when gambling offered something different, an industry that did not depend on depleting ore, one that could generate revenue for as long as people wanted to play. When Nevada finally found that industry, it concentrated everything into it. The convergence. Las Vegas should not exist as a major city. Summer highs regularly exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The city is the fastest warming metropolitan area in America. The desert surrounding it offers nothing. No farmland, no natural resources, no shelter from the relentless sun. But in 1931, the same year gambling was legalized and the same year divorce residency requirements were slashed, construction began on Hoover Dam. Suddenly, everything changed. The dam promised water, reliable, year-round water drawn from the Colorado River and stored in what would become Lake Mead. For decades, the largest man-made reservoir on Earth. The dam promised electricity, massive hydroelectric turbines generating power that could be transmitted across the desert to waiting cities. The dam promised jobs, thousands of construction workers flooding into southern Nevada, men with paychecks looking for entertainment after brutal shifts in the heat. The workers needed somewhere to spend their money. Casinos opened to serve them, hotels followed, then restaurants, then entertainment venues, then everything else that makes a city feel like a city. The dam did not just make Las Vegas possible, it made Las Vegas inevitable. Geography had created the constraint, the hostile climate, the absent water, the punishing distance from other population centers. Engineering eliminated it. Federal investment poured resources into a location that private capital would never have chosen on its own. Everything converged in 1931. Gambling legalization, divorce tourism, Hoover Dam construction. This was not luck. It was a perfect storm, each element reinforcing the others, transforming a dusty railroad stop into the foundation of an empire. But building everything around one industry creates a vulnerability that Nevada discovered in the worst possible way. The price of concentration. During COVID-19, Nevada's unemployment rate hit 30.6%, higher than any other state in the nation. Las Vegas alone reached 34%. 1 in 3 workers was without a job. When casinos closed, the economy collapsed. There was no fallback, hotels went dark, restaurants shuttered, entertainment venues sat empty. The service workers, the dealers, the housekeepers, the bartenders, hundreds of thousands of people who depended on tourism found themselves with nothing. This is the risk of the opposite strategy. Concentration creates both power and fragility. The money flows fast when the world cooperates. Tourists arrive, they gamble, they spend, and the tax revenue piles up. Nevada has no state income tax because it does not need one. Gaming and sales taxes cover the bills. But when the world stops cooperating, there is no backup plan. The pandemic exposed a tension that had always existed in Nevada's sin economy. The state had built everything around being the place where people came to do what they could not do at home. When people could not travel, when casinos could not open, when the entire premise of the economy vanished overnight, Nevada had nothing to catch it. Other states had diversified economies that absorbed the shock. Nevada had a single point of failure, and it failed catastrophically. But Nevada may have finally learned this lesson. The Hedge. Northern Nevada is quietly transforming. Tesla's Gigafactory sprawls across the desert outside Reno, building batteries for electric vehicles. Apple, Google, and Switch have opened massive data centers, drawn by cheap electricity and favorable tax treatment. Logistics hubs line the Interstate 80 corridor, and warehouses serve the entire western United States. The state that built everything on gambling is hedging for the first time in its history. Immigration now provides 24% of Nevada's labor force and contributes $20.2 billion to the economy each year. New industries are taking root that have nothing to do with casinos or entertainment, technology, renewable energy, and advanced manufacturing. The old strategy, be the only place that allows what others prohibit, still works. Nevada still has legal gambling, easy incorporation, and no state income tax. But the state is finally building redundancy, finally acknowledging that a one-industry economy is a fragile economy. The question is whether diversification came soon enough. The tech sector employs thousands, but gaming and hospitality still employ hundreds of thousands. The new economy is growing, but it has not yet reached the scale needed to replace the old one if crisis strikes again. Nevada's future remains unwritten, still caught between the strategy that made it rich and the vulnerability that strategy created. Nevada isn't the opposite of every United States state because of its geography. The land was hostile, the water was absent, the federal government owned most of it. Nevada became the opposite because it made a different choice. Instead of building around resources, it built around permission. Instead of competing on what it had, it competed on what it allowed. While every other state said no to gambling, Nevada said yes. While other states made divorce difficult, Nevada made it simple. While other states taxed income, Nevada opted out entirely. In a continent of abundance, rich farmland, navigable rivers, timber and minerals, and fertile soil, Nevada had none of it. Scarcity forced creativity, and creativity produced an entirely different kind of state. That's the real lesson. Geography usually determines destiny. Mountains block settlement. Rivers enable trade. Rainfall decides where crops can grow, but Nevada found a loophole, a way to prosper not through what the land provided, but through what the laws permitted. Permission became the product, and in a nation where someone always wants what they're not allowed to have, that product never runs out.